If you love stories of overcoming, revenge, and twists and turns that life brings, then this channel is for you. Here, each story will keep you hooked from beginning to end. So, subscribe now, activate the bell, leave your like, and come with me, because today's story is simply unmissable. Helena has always believed in love. Since she was very young, she dreamed of a perfect life with someone who would make her feel safe, loved, and protected. And when she met Rodrigo, she was sure that her dreams were finally coming true. He was charming, attentive, and seemed willing to move heaven and earth to make her happy. They got married after 2 years of dating, and Helena was absolutely convinced that they would live a lifetime together, building memories, overcoming challenges, and sharing victories. But as life insists on proving, not everything is as we imagine. Behind Rodrigo's smile, there was a man who hid dark secrets, lies disguised as promises and intentions that not even Helena, with all her sensitivity, was able to see. The first few years were perfect. Trips, dinners, surprises. Rodrigo was the husband of her dreams. But over time, small signs began to appear. He started coming home late, claiming to be overworked. His cell phone, which used to be left lying around the house, was now always on silent mode, locked, away from anyone's eyes. And, little by little, Helena began to feel like a stranger in her own home. Conversations became scarce, affection became rare, and the man who swore eternal love began to become cold, distant, unrecognizable. Helena tried to ignore it, tried to believe that it was just a phase, that everything would work out. But deep down, a growing restlessness was eating away at her peace, and a silent fear began to take over her heart. One night, driven by an anguish that had become unbearable, Helena gathered her courage and decided to follow Rodrigo. She needed answers. She needed to understand what was happening. And that was the day her world fell apart. Hiding inside the car, a few meters from a restaurant, she saw with her own eyes Rodrigo entering the house holding hands with another woman. A young, beautiful, smiling woman. The knowing look, the affectionate gestures, and the stolen kisses were the cruel confirmation that everything she feared was not a figment of her imagination. It was real. Helena felt the ground open up. Her entire body trembled. An unbearable pain tightened her chest. She never imagined that the man who promised to protect her would be the same one who would destroy her heart without mercy. In the days that followed, Helena tried to act rationally, but the pain seemed to suffocate her with every passing second. Rodrigo, completely unaware of what she knew, continued with his lies, his empty excuses, and his rehearsed theater. But she was no longer the same. The love she felt began to mix with a bitter taste of disappointment, anger, and helplessness. The questions piled up. How long had this been happening? Who else knew? All the looks, all the details of the past began to make sense, and it was then that she realized that it was not a slip-up. Rodrigo had a parallel life. It was not just a betrayal. It was a perfectly constructed deception. Years of lies, years of false promises. One night, while Rodrigo was taking a shower, Helena couldn't resist. She grabbed his cell phone, which had been left unlocked by mistake. And there, every message, every photo, every audio, everything fell apart. Explicit conversations, declarations of love to another woman, travel plans, and even conversations where he spoke badly of her, his own wife. She read, shocked, cruel words that she never imagined would come from the mouth of someone who claimed to love her. Rodrigo called her boring, a dead weight, said that she was complacent, that she was old, and that he deserved better. That tore Helena apart. She wasn't just being betrayed, she was being humiliated, devalued and trampled on by the man she trusted the most. When Rodrigo got out of the shower, he found Helena sitting on the bed, pale, holding her cell phone. The piercing silence made Rodrigo understand at the same time that she knew everything. He tried to hide it, stuttered, tried to make some excuse, but this time there was no escape. Helena, with tears in her eyes, asked, "Why? After everything I did for you, why?" Rodrigo then showed his true face. Cold, indifferent, he said, without a trace of regret. "Because I deserved to be happy. You settled down, you became predictable. I'm tired, Helena. And honestly, I don't even know if I still love you." That was the final knife stuck in her chest. The tears fell uncontrollably, but at that moment something inside her also began to die, and something new began to be born. The next morning, Rodrigo simply packed his bags and left, as if years of marriage could be thrown away like trash. And that was exactly how Helena felt. Disposable. For days, she was locked up in the house, without strength, without will, without ground. The memories of happy times now tortured her like sharp knives. In every corner of the house, a memory. In every object, an invisible scar. Friends tried to call, family members worried, but Helena didn't answer anyone. She was sunk to the bottom of the well, in the deepest abyss of pain and humiliation. And it was there, alone, in the most painful silence, that she realized. Either she got up, or she would be completely destroyed. The first step was difficult, very difficult. Getting out of bed felt like a marathon. Looking in the mirror then was like facing a stranger, a woman she didn't even recognize anymore. Disheveled hair, swollen eyes, a dull expression. "What did they do to me?" she asked herself. But deep down, she knew that it wasn't just Rodrigo who destroyed her. She had also abandoned herself. She lost herself in the midst of love, in the attempts to be everything to someone who, in the end, wasn't capable of being even half of her. That was when, even with her heart in pieces, she decided that she couldn't live like this anymore, that she was no longer going to beg for love or respect or dignity. The following days were full of transformation. Helena started therapy, went back to the gym, changed her haircut, and started taking care of herself like she had never done before. It wasn't easy. Each day was an internal battle, a fight against memories, against pain, against that inner voice that tried to convince her that she wasn't enough. But little by little, she realized that she was being reborn. And she realized, most importantly, that the worst betrayal wasn't Rodrigo's. It was the betrayal she committed against herself for years, by putting herself in the background, by forgetting herself, by annulling herself to sustain a love that deep down only existed on one side. While Helena was rebuilding herself, Rodrigo's life was taking a different path. The life he had dreamed of with his lover was not what he had imagined. Over time, the lies began to backfire on him. His lover, who had once been so sweet, began to show her true colors, jealous, controlling, and self-interested. Rodrigo, who thought he was running away from a problem, realized too late that he was entering an even bigger one. And, little by little, doors began to close for him. Professionally, his image was tarnished. Friends drifted away. The perfect life he thought he would have turned into a nightmare. Meanwhile, Helena was flourishing. Work, which had previously been just an obligation, now became her passion. She was promoted, began to be recognized, admired. Her self-esteem, which had been destroyed, now shone like never before. People began to notice her. Their looks changed. She, who had previously felt invisible, now drew attention wherever she went, not only for her renewed beauty, but for her strength, her confidence, and the light she emanated. And then one day, fate played a trick. Rodrigo crossed paths with Helena on the street, and at that exact moment he could not believe his eyes. That woman was no longer the one he had left behind. She was unrecognizable. and beautiful. Rodrigo, overcome by a mixture of surprise and regret, tried to get closer. He sent messages, called, apologized, said it was a mistake, that he was lost, that he wanted a new chance. But Helena, oh, Helena was no longer the same. She, who used to melt for crumbs of affection, now looked at him as if she were looking at the past. No pain, no resentment, no love, just indifference. And with a smile on her face, she replied, "Thank you for leaving me. It was the best thing you could have done for me. Because thanks to that, I finally found myself." Rodrigo, devastated, watched her walk away. Stronger, more beautiful, more in control of herself than ever. Days passed, and Rodrigo sank deeper and deeper into the consequences of his own choices. He lost his job, his business began to fail, and to make matters worse, he discovered that his lover was only with him out of interest. As soon as she realized that he had nothing more to offer, she simply disappeared. Rodrigo was left alone, without money, without love, without anyone. And in that emptiness, he finally understood everything that Helena meant. But now, it was too late. Helena, on the other hand, was living her best phase. She traveled, took care of herself, took courses, met new people. And for the first time in many years, she felt complete, alone. She discovered that happiness did not depend on anyone but herself. And although doors to a new love began to open, she knew that she did not need a man to feel complete. Because after all, she was enough. She always had been. She just didn't know it before. And so, looking back, Helena understood that sometimes life breaks us, not to destroy us, but so that we can rebuild ourselves even stronger. Rodrigo was the pain that taught her to love herself. And if he ever thought that she would be nothing without him, he was completely wrong. Because she was not only, she became everything. Strong, beautiful, powerful, and above all, the owner of her own story.